So if the Cowboys are going to be aggressive in free agency, it's gonna have to be at this position. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Mauricio Rodriguez here at A to Z Sports Dallas. I know Cowboys fans don't have any big time expectations for free agency because this front office just doesn't seem like it wants to spend on veteran players. Jerry Jones earlier this week talked about how he doesn't see free agency as a place to fill voids, which I consider to be such an insane thing to say into the mic. And yes, Stephen Jones went out there and said, we will be selectively aggressive. Well, I would expect them to be more selective than aggressive in this offseason because it seems like they're concerned about the cap space long term. I don't think it's even 2025. I think it's just overall the future of the team. Now, mind you, I'm not saying they're right. I think they could play around with the cap to make everything work, basically, but I don't think they see things the same way. However, there's one position that really makes sense for the Cowboys. And before I get into it, let me just remind you of how the Cowboys seem to think about free agency. If it's a bargain, okay, they'll consider it. If it's a low risk, high reward player, they'll consider it. That's what they like to invest in. They won't go for the superstars. So any player that it would be among the highest paid free agents at that position, you can basically dismiss. You can forget about it completely. So, for example, if T. Higgins had not been franchise tagged by the Bengals, obviously they would not have considered him, but maybe they would consider a banged up wide receiver that could be hoping for a bounce back. Now, we're not going to talk about wide receiver today, though, but I'm just providing an example. The one position that I really think the Cowboys could target in this year's free agency, though, is edge rusher. Let's just start with the need aspect of it, and then I'll get into some candidates, and one that I really think has Cowboys written all over him. The Cowboys need more edge rushers, right? They've got Micah Parsons, one of the best defenders in the NFL, but Matt Eberflus runs a defensive scheme that wants to rush the passer with only 4 men. Rarely does he blitz. And I don't know that Marshawn Newland and Sam Williams can be considered proven players. Marshawn Newland should absolutely take a step forward in a second-year jump, but he did spend the 2024 season a little bit banged up. So there's some question marks about his development. And then you get into Sam Williams, and he's going to be a huge mystery mark after he missed the entire 2024 season. And sure, he's very talented. He's going to come back healthy, hopefully, but I don't know how much you can bet on him to be a next factor on that defensive line. Chauncey Golston and Carl Lawson are headed for free agency, and I'm not sure they're going to be big impact makers if they do return, but they're going to be solid depth, if anything. Now, yes, there are several candidates, but I'm going to start with the one that has Cowboys written all over him, Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants. This is a guy with high sack production, but weird numbers when you get into the analytics. He's not top 50 in pass rush win rate. He's not top 80 in pressures. So some people are questioning if he really is that good of a player or if he just happens to make the most out of the opportunities that come up when he can sack players. Well, I consider it's a little bit of both. Ojulari has been banged up, and he doesn't play in the best defense in the NFL. In fact, he plays in a pretty bad, rough defense over in New York, where they've got some stars but not much depth, and it's definitely a defense filled with holes. But Ojulari has had a history of injuries, and as such, he's going to come around at a $5 million deal, and I think that's the kind of stuff that the Cowboys really like to look into. Baron Browning, formerly with the Denver Broncos, is another good example, someone who has dealt with some injuries in the past, but still manages to produce. Matthew Judon is coming off of one of his worst seasons of his career, but I could see the Cowboys spending under $5 million to see if he can prove himself once more. And there are some other bigger names, like, for example, Chase Young, but I do think those are going to be over the $10 million mark, and I'm not sure that's the kind of free agent that the Cowboys want. But even Joey Bosa joining the market, I think, is someone that the Cowboys could absolutely consider, just because Joey Bosa is a similar archetype, right? Someone who has dealt with so many injuries that he's going to come at a steep discount, and the Cowboys might be enticed by that potential bargain hunting that they seem to love. I personally would be all in for spending a little bit extra dough on Joey Bosa so we can pair him with Michael Parsons. I think that would be insane in Dallas, and I think it's a good idea. Now, we'll just have to wait to see if the Cowboys feel the same way next week. Let's see how the edge market goes, and hopefully the Cowboys get some talent away. Let's see.